Welcome to another episode of Home Coffee Brewing with April. For this episode, we're doing several things a little bit different. We're in Chicago. It's the second video. We're meeting up with Dylan, which is amazing. And I kind of know from before because he had a really cool coffee shop. He was working at a really cool coffee shop, Purple Llama, here in Chicago. Now, so this is the first video we're going to do homebrewing wise that actually doesn't have any April brewer in it. Just a little bit of a random thing. I guess a bit missing communication beforehand, but Dylan is such an amazing guy, so I kind of decided to push through anyway. So we're featuring actually a bit of V60 brewing and Tricolate brewing here, which turns out really great. On another note, halfway through the video, one of Dylan's cats basically tilts down the tripod and actually kind of breaks the sound equipment. So we can't, like half of the video don't have proper audio pretty much, and that's why you see me using this as well, because having some challenges there. But otherwise, it's an amazing video. Dylan knows a lot about coffee and we had a lot of fun doing it, so I hope you're gonna enjoy it. So we're on the inside. We're a little bit outside of the city center in Chicago.
Yes.
I don't really know exactly.
A few miles
where we
northwest of downtown.
That's where we are. Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Yeah, and we're about to brew some coffee pretty much. And you have, like, we have a whole bunch of different stuff going on here. Some cats in the background as well. A lot of coffee gear in general. And we're just, I guess, going to start brewing and see where it takes us.
Yes.
Yeah? What do you want to start with?
So I have an idea for two different coffees today.
Cool.
First is from a roaster called Junto. They're from close to Greenville, South Carolina, so the southeast United States. Second coffee is from a roaster called Vivid. They're from Burlington, Vermont, as you can see in the back here. So this one is, I just brewed it for the second time today. It's from Junto Fernandez in Honduras. It's a Geisha, natural processed. This is a coffee that I've gotten, producer at least, I've gotten very familiar with.
Yeah, okay.
Junto Fernandez has been producing for a few years. She's a younger producer. And this roaster has been buying her coffee for very consistently every season, buying the whole harvest. Yep. This is the first Geisha I've had from them.
Okay, normally, so you tried a few different varietals from them.
Definitely,
yeah? Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Paranima, Pacamara.
Yeah.
Probably another one, but
sure.
Yeah. Very fun producer.
Yep.
Usually natural processed. And I kind of skipped over this one. This is a sample bag, so it doesn't look quite right.
Sure.
But this is a Guatemala from a little bit north of Antigua.
Okay.
It is a anaerobic pineapple yeasted coffee.
Pineapple yeasted.
So it's not the trend lately with adding fruit directly into the processing vats.
Sure.
If you're familiar with,
like a co-ferment. That's at least what Americans call it, right?
I don't know.
That's what
I've been trying to stay away from them.
Me too. No, but I was in LA not so long ago, and then that was like the first time I could see on like menus, it was like co-fermented coffee, and then I went, how does that work? Like, what's that? And then it would start going, if you want it to taste like strawberry, you put strawberry in like a tank, and then you seal it up, and it will taste like strawberries, which by factor is not true, because that's not how flavor transition works, right? But that's a different video. But okay, so this is pineapple. That's pineapple without pineapple.
They
so
extracted the yeast from pineapple in a lab, introduced the yeast into the anaerobic tanks.
Okay.
So sometimes in anaerobic, I believe they introduce different yeasts into the tank.
That's also quite common. So
this yeast was from a pineapple.
Okay.
So there's actually I don't taste much pineapple in this coffee at all.
Yeah, okay. Are you supposed to, or is it like, what's kind of the official pitch, right? Are they saying that we're doing this and it should taste more like pineapple, or they're doing this and it will bring out something else?
It is to bring out whatever comes out of it. Okay. So the pitch was never, as far as I remember from what I was reading about it, there is no intention for it to taste exactly like pineapple. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of whatever the bacteria created.
Yeah, okay. I'm getting.
And again, I didn't really taste a ton of pineapple in it. Yeah. So this one, it's as you could probably imagine, a fairly funky coffee.
Sounds like it. And what's the varietal that they've done this with?
This is a Bourbon.
Bourbon. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. That's exciting, and it's fairly light roasted-ish.
Yes.
That's it. Did I screw up the scale now? Oh. It doesn't smell like pineapple.
It smells, I think, like a typical, what I would expect, anaerobic processing.
Yeah.
So a lot of tropical fruits, deep stone fruit kind of flavor. And this roaster, I think, does a great job. They're definitely one of my top few favorite coffee roasters in the U.S.
Okay.
I've been working with them for at least 4 years.
Yeah. And when you say working with them, maybe we should share what that actually means.
Oh, a bio?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Just go for it.
So I started using them at the shop that I worked at here in Chicago. I was a coffee buyer for Purple Llama Coffee and Records.
That's how we met also initially. This is the first time we met in person.
In person.
Yeah.
I was thinking today, I started there when I was 23. I'm 29 now. And April was one of the first roasters I brought on.
Cool.
And you had the white bag with every bag had a different color.
Oh yeah, we had the like side sticker. Yeah, sure.
I thought about that today.
Yeah.
So long time ago.
Not my proudest moment, maybe in the world ever, but it's been a journey, right? That's why we have the beauties on the inside, on our packaging, right? To kind of get away with it.
Absolutely.
Fair enough.
So I brought on Junto as a roaster towards the end, maybe early 2020, and the shop closed at the beginning of the pandemic right away. And I transitioned into a coffee subscription, 100% subscription based.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Had really good relationships with all the roasters, and had a pretty loyal following of customers that were really interested in starting to homebrew. And it was supposed to just be several months until, things worked their way out. And everyone really liked it, and we're going until no one's interested in it anymore.
Yeah, so, fair point though. Yeah, sure.
There's no reason to stop it at this point.
How many bags do you ship out now? Is it like a monthly thing, a weekly thing, or?
Yeah, I bring in the total amount of bags that come to me for me to distribute is about 160 to 180.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, sure. Not huge. It's mostly Chicago.
Yeah.
Definitely not printing money or anything from it, but
no,
it's a fun side hustle.
Yeah, sure.
It's a very
and
fun
you get to try
hustle.
a lot of coffee, right? So
yes, and I get to do stuff like this.
Yeah, I've been randomly. That's true. Which is really cool. Awesome.
All right, well, let's stick it to brewing it.
Let's
so this is the one,
and
I always do the water drop trig.
You always do the water drop.
Yes.
And what's the main argument for that?
I have found that it does reduce static cleaning the grinder.
Sure. So that's, I think we see that, or I've seen that quite often in these videos now. And that plus the argument is that it could actually increase extraction as well. We make sure you guys get a close up on the cats later as well. So I'm all for that. I think that makes a lot of sense. Also like professionally, because any grinder you're using is going to create a lot of static, especially like more kind of home style grinders, right? So it makes a lot of sense. And you have a Wilfa standing there, I see, Wilfa Uniform, if I remember correctly. How did you end up with the Wilfa? Scandinavian.
Yeah. I even purchased it from a Copenhagen company.
Oh wait, and you even have like a transistor.
Oh yeah, I have to. This is a
power plug.
The EU plug. It goes into the transformer. We can get a close up of that later. A lot of fun.
That's hardcore though. Did you get that just for that grinder?
Oh yes.
You did. He really likes Wilfa.
I do. Cool. Yeah, I have the.
Yeah, no, I saw
the
that.
Brewer, the Tim Windable brewer. I've had that for several years. Those are some spare parts because I even bought one for my mom.
Yeah, awesome. And
so I do like Wilfa.
She didn't want it, or it's like literal spare part. Ah, okay.
It broke. So there's some.
Maybe Wilfa sees this and send a new one because it broke.
Maybe.
Not sure why it broke, but anyway, maybe.
It was sort of user error, not gonna lie. So
fair enough, though.
I shouldn't have said
fair
that.
Enough. That
I ruined my chances.
Yeah. But I mean, good grinder. Notoriously slow at grinding.
And that's one of the reasons I bought it.
Okay, yeah. Because
too many home grinders, I think, just rip your grinds out, and that creates a lot of fines.
Yeah.
I looked at a lot of reviews for this. James Hoffman made a video on it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I think I clicked buy now after I saw that video actually, because I was really looking at it. Fellow had just released their first generation of
Odd or Ode?
Yes.
Sorry, Ode, yeah.
Yes. And I think James Hoffman reviewed this one and the Ode, and basically said that for certain coffees, you know, something you might need to grind really fine.
Yeah.
So maybe a Sumatra, a big Pacamara, something low density. It might not do the trick.
Yeah.
And I was like, I
Get
can't
the
do that.
Instead.
I can't. Yeah, I need to be able to grind whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna change my brewing recipe because my grinder won't go fine enough. So that was my selling point. I have never looked back on it. I love this grinder. I don't mind the big block.
Yeah.
Transformer
minded.
minded.
It's a commitment. Not everyone has a transformer standing just for like a Wilfa grinder. It's also not a very expensive grinder. I mean, sure, there's some money, but you know, you could buy more expensive grinders.
Yes,
but,
you could.
No,
and I think part of the beauty of it is it's completely a simple machine. It doesn't have any built-in scale, like a lot of them have, that I'm not going to use anyway. You know,
no,
they made one that had the built-in scale.
They do have the new version. Yeah, sure.
I intentionally didn't get that one.
Okay.
But they did make a US one that's 120 volt, 60 hertz. I got it for my sister for Christmas, actually.
Okay, cool.
It's
a thing of yours to like give your family members coffee. It's like, that's what you're going to get if you're a family member looking at this, right?
If I stay with them, I need to have good coffee while I'm there, you know.
Fair enough.
Yes.
I actually got one of these. I mean, weird side story here, but I got one of those for my mom. And I came home kind of one Christmas and I was about to like make myself some coffee. Poured in some fairly expensive Geisha before I like started to like smell cinnamon everywhere. And it turns out that what she does is that she takes my coffee and she mixes that with cinnamon in the grinder because, quote, it tastes much better than what your coffee do without it. Just like on the subject of family members having coffee gear that maybe don't appreciate enough to have, but which is fair.
Cinnamon in the grinder is crazy.
I mean, you know, if you can put pineapple in this, you know, why not?
Exactly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and grind this. So you use a coarser grind. So
25?
Yeah, typically a starting grind size for me for V60 is about 20.
Yep.
So you are supposed to go a little coarser with the Triculate. And
so we're using the Triculate now?
Yes, we're using this one first. The Tricolate does a really good job for super funky coffees that you kind of struggle with, like, okay, what's my V60 ratio? How many pulses should I pour?
Yeah.
It's a much more consistent brew method. I think you can get much more intricate and you can brew overall a better cup with a V60.
Okay.
But with coffees like this, I think it helps bring out some of the fruit flavor.
Okay.
Some more of the natural sweetness you find in coffee rather than brightness that you get with the drip method.
Yeah.
So I find this is better for more natural sweetness in a coffee like this. A lot of the beauty is hidden in some of that natural sweetness, I think. And I've always kind of felt that way about it, but yeah.
So you put the grinder on before you put the beans in? Is that something you always do, or?
Yeah. I've always done it like that.
It's kind of the pro thing to do, so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think we're still grinding, if you'll notice.
Yeah, it's a slow grind.
Slow revolution, wide burst head. Yeah. It's good.
More uniform grind size, just than the theory, right?
That is the selling point behind it. Machine-wise, I think it makes sense to start the grinder before you put the beans in.
Yep.
Because when you start like a machine like this, you're hitting it with volts.
Yep.
And there's like a startup current.
Yep.
When you're pouring the beans right in while it's already started, you're past the startup current, or inrush current as you call it.
True though, yeah.
And so you're avoiding all of that. That's why I do it. That's why I've always done it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it makes enough YouTubers have said that in the past as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure. No, it makes perfect sense.
There's so many coffee people online now.
There is a lot of people online, yeah. I'm trying not to be online, but I ended up online anyway, which I do kind of enjoy though. Cool, so let's do it. So water, we haven't talked about water at all.
Yes.
Tell me just something smart about the water.
So, Chicago is very unique in the fact that our water from the tap is exceptional.
Okay.
Interesting. I can pour cold water from the tap right now, and I have a TDS meter. And what would you say is your ideal range for brewing coffee? For BPM?
That's a long other video. I will say, I mean, we're actually running things between 40 to 60.
40 to 60.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is quite low.
That is low.
I think a lot of people.
I was hoping you would say higher.
Yeah. So you being American, I'm gonna assume you think, or you would like me to say 120, 150.
120.
Yeah.
Okay.
We make sure you guys get a close up on the cats later as well.
So yeah, while I was fixing the camera, because one of our
A
homies,
feline.
one of our cats here actually managed to tilt it down, which is quite impressive actually. Like strong cat.
Strong boy.
You've been dosing the coffee, which I then missed. How much coffee have we put in?
16.3 grams.
16.3 grams. And we're using tap water.
Oh, sorry. We're not using tap water.
No.
So I installed a reverse osmosis system under the sink.
Okay.
But what I was asking you about what your ideal range was, cold tap water from the sink is 125 ppm.
Without your filter?
Without any filter.
Oh, okay.
Which is pretty good. So
Yeah,
technically you could brew coffee with it.
Yeah.
A little high.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would agree with
No,
that.
it depends on the composition, right?
Yes.
So it's always, I always kind of refrain from saying too high, too low, because it's really about what is the content of that, right? And some coffees we know by now can actually do really well in a wide range of water, right?
Yeah.
So it could be.
It does depend on what's in the water.
I mean, I'm a fairway water fan. A lot of people
Okay.
know this, and I've used that for a long time. And I usually use concentrate up to like 150, 160 in like distilled water.
Okay.
But then it actually works really well because it's the right minerals.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have one pack. Maybe we could try that later.
Yeah.
Anyway, I
Go for it.
mix my tap water
Yep.
with RO water. So then I try to hit like a 60 to 70
Okay. Yeah.
range.
Makes
so I
sense.
can really dial it in. I don't do that every day.
Yeah.
But if I really want to, especially putting in an espresso machine, I'll really make sure it's a good number.
Cool.
So with this, I do a bloom. It's exactly 2 times the weight. And when we get to V60, I'll explain why I made such a big deal about saying exactly. I take the lid off, stir the bloom. This helps slow the brew down a little bit, actually.
Which
just
part are
scraping
you
it.
slowing down? Like you're slowing down kind of the what's happening after this then?
Yes.
Or- okay.
And then I do so it's not a ton of water, it's just 2 times.
Yep.
I do a little, get all the coffee grounds off.
Yeah.
Not a lot of weight, but lid goes back on. And I usually leave it for about 50 seconds.
Okay.
I don't know.
Fascinating.
It's just because I stirred it, I want to let it sit for a little bit longer with that water.
Okay.
And then at 50 seconds, I'm going to go all the way. And as you can see from below the shower head, it's like mesmerizing, I think, how uniform the beads of water come down. It's just like a perfectly uniform flow onto the grounds. And then I'm going to pour until exactly 260.
We'll do that so people can see. Okay, cool. We have a bunch of YouTube videos on this as well, which could actually be cool to kind of revert back to. Mainly also because I myself did not really manage to get much out of it in the sense of like what I'm looking for, which makes this even more interesting. I hope you hacked this better than I did.
We'll see. We'll see what you think. So the best part about it is you can leave it and do something else.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part.
Cool. So you're like never going V60.
Yes.
Cool.
So while this one's dripping, I'm going to do the second coffee. So this is Nahun Fernandez from Honduras, Santa Barbara region. This is no pineapple papaya nonsense. Just coffee.
I did not say that. You said
I'm not a big fan of I think inoculating with fruit. That's what it's called.
That's probably.
Is that the
more,
proper
let's
term?
say, maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, it wasn't right because it was yeast.
Right,
So
yeah.
it's like a yeast inoculated coffee,
Yeast inoculated,
which is
yes.
kind of a thing, right?
But no fruit.
No fruit. I used one on one of those when I competed in Athens, and I mean it intensifies certain flavors. I think, to be honest, outside of the world of competitions, I'm completely over it.
The fruit.
Everything that is like added, like this.
Yeah.
Yeast fermentations.
Can you even use those?
fermentations.
Can you even use fruit fermentations in competitions?
Oh, I think it's like the only thing people use in competitions.
Where the fruit's added to the fermenter?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh.
You can't even.
I'm surprised that's even allowed.
You can't even by rules. No. You can for sure add.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Um,
Judges like that?
The judges, that's a good question, and I'm wondering if we should actually put that on record. I actually think the judges kind of like it. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
let me rephrase that. The score sheet likes it.
okay.
Because the judges' rules is really just to interpret a coffee based on the score sheet.
Sure.
And the judges
You're right.
are not within the score sheet. If that makes sense?
Yes.
So I think yes and no, but I mean they're good in the sense that you can clearly communicate certain flavors,
Yeah.
and that's what
The
the
one.
judges really want.
The
Right?
one certain flavor.
Yes, exactly. That's how it is.
Again, I said it.
Again,
not him.
we have a lot of videos coming out of this video. I feel right. But, I mean, no, but it's it's a style, and I think we have to recognize the fact that style is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I think you as a company have an opportunity to choose. Are you going to be a part of that, or are you not going to be a part of that?
Absolutely.
And April is not a part of that, but we also respect other people that choose to be a part of that.
Absolutely. And
That's
there's
a
a
good way to
huge
do it.
customer base that's going to be interested in that. And it's a great way
which
to
I'm
get
just
people into
not
coffee.
interested in.
Well,
Is it though? I mean, that's a conversation I think is so interesting.
Well,
though,
it's kinda like the
that's
way
the
that-
main argument, right? That's like the gateway thing.
It's kind of like how the Ethiopian natural draws people in. Because it's like, whoa, why do I taste a blueberry in this coffee?
Sure.
Maybe it won't be the most complex coffee they've ever had, but it's that one coffee that drags
Do
them in.
you? So just an open question here, which let's not spend too much time on it. But do you then believe that someone let's try this pineapple thing first, maybe. But would you believe that someone that had like an infused coffee, like a coffee that just tastes like peach, 100%,
Okay.
because it's manipulated by someone that tastes like peach? Do you think that they would actually one day, that same person would go, oh, this clean washed geisha that tastes a little bit like jasmine and citrus is amazing? Do you think that will happen? Because I'm
Down the line,
I do not think so.
down the line, a couple of years,
okay.
Maybe.
Fair enough.
Maybe. I don't know.
I think that person is gonna wait 1 year, and what's the next level of this coffee? And then
Because there will be a next level.
yeah,
Yes.
I'll forget
It will
it. It's
progress.
always a next level.
Yes.
It's we're humans,
Yes.
right? I mean, everything has a next level. So I'm kind of curious. I'm just gonna sit on the sideline and watch it unfold and focus on the coffee squeeze.
That's a great idea.
I think so.
I support that idea.
So now
So this is done before I grind the next one. So one thing, my biggest complaint about the Tricolate
Mhm.
brewer. So if you look down here, I'll lift it up and then tilt it.
Yeah.
Look at how much just came out of there. What is that?
True.
What is that? Has that been sitting in the ground
probably
that whole
got-
time, over extracting? Has it been like hiding?
Yeah, exactly. Why
hiding in the
has
pocket
that
here?
not moved? Yeah, sure.
That was like maybe a half ounce
Yeah.
of coffee. So that's enough to maybe not throw off the brew, but you might taste something a little over extracted.
Fair point.
So-
Plus, in my world of brewing with this brewer, I've never done that. So that means I would have always actually then calculated the extraction incorrectly because I wouldn't know the proper beverage weight.
Maybe, yeah.
Kind of.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, let's go ahead and try this. Let me grab some cups.
He also has a crazy amount of cups, I should say. Okay, it does not smell like pineapple.
That's not a great. It's not a great server for
aromatics.
for aromatics and for sifting it before you
Sure.
taste it. So we can at least start drinking this one. I made this cup myself.
You made it yourself. That's
This I'm
impressive.
sure you recognize.
You have a Norwegian theme going, which is very clear here. So that's Figio, a Norwegian brand that Tim Enderbo has also worked with, and he basically developed this grinder as well, and the brewers behind this, and the cup. So you have like the whole.
Did he work on the?
Yeah. He's been
Oh, he
working
did?
on everything.
Okay, I didn't know that.
He's
Okay.
been like their coffee consultant for years now, I think.
That's a good coffee consultant to have. If you don't know.
It is, for sure. And if you haven't tried Tim Enderbo coffee, you should.
Yes. Very fruit forward.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say like best Triculate brew I tried. No? I'm not saying this is the best coffee I tried.
Oh, I heard you.
But I'm just saying,
but
as
that
a-
is
as a-
huge.
As like a brew method, you clearly did that better than I did. I'm gonna
That's the
say
most
this.
incredible thing I've ever heard.
I'm just gonna most likely because of the style of processing and the kind of cellular structure in the coffee that is generated, meaning just faster flow rate, that actually suits the Tricolate much, much better. Because when I take in our kind of light roasted wash coffees in it, I can't pull a brew time under 10 minutes. Like almost impossible. And we tried, this is like posted online a long time ago, you can see all of it. Like almost impossible. But I think because of that kind of, let's say, innovative new processing, then it actually makes more sense.
Yeah, and one thing I would say, I use this coffee in part of the subscription, my coffee subscription last month.
Okay.
And when I use a coffee in my subscription, I brew it a lot to dial it in because my customers are regular people, they're not coffee professionals. Yeah. Some of them are, but most of them not.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to brew this coffee super well so I can tell them, here's what I did. I, poured this much weight at this amount of time. And if you do that, you should be getting a drop time like this. If you don't, maybe change your grind a little bit.
Sure,
Stuff like that,
Okay.
And I ground that at about 16 and I went all the way to 25 to do this one.
Yeah.
So a wash coffee, you would have to go above, I would say even 30. And even then, if you're doing any swirling or stirring once you actually have filled up the bed with water, so not just the bloom, it's going to stop it up like crazy.
Okay,
yeah. Sure. That's one thing I've noticed too. So that's why I don't stir it once it gets filled to the top.
Okay.
Yeah. And it does such a great job of flowing evenly over the ground that I feel like it doesn't need that extra agitation. And that's what I found with it. It doesn't. Yeah, it's a paper filter, so it's not going to be a muddy cup or anything. I like it more than AeroPress. Yeah. So,
what do you think? Do you think they're living up to their? What is the flavor notes?
Oh, this is the wrong bag actually.
Oh, the wrong bag. Okay, so let's not look at that.
I can get that up later though.
But I mean, let's say slightly tropical. Yeah. A little bit like apricot-y, maybe.
I think I don't want to pull my phone out and check, but it was.
Yeah, you can do it if you want. Okay. Go for it. Yeah.
Well, should I pull up Junto's tasting notes or mine?
Maybe both, just for the fun of it.
So my website, and if they still have it.
No, we don't, right?
No, not yet.
I mean,
that's another thing. You hear that little extra clip? Yeah, it's not a perfect grinder.
Sure.
But I think as far as grind consistency goes and how much it holds up every time, I don't think anybody can touch it.
Sure. And just value for money. Right?
Value for sure.
100%.
I think it was, I don't even know if it was $300. So that's pretty good.
That is pretty good, actually, for sure. Plus the extra electrical gear, though. So.
Yeah, I did spend $30 on this. Okay, so from Junto's website, they are saying vanilla, pineapple, and white guava.
White guava. White guava is one of those kind of undescript, just slightly sweet tropical vibe, which I think probably sign off on. Pineapple for me is too distinct of a flavor note. Like there's certain also, did it say vanilla as well?
Yeah.
I mean, also very distinct, right? It's it's one of those things, either there is vanilla or there isn't vanilla. It's kind of
same with chocolate.
It's kind of hard to be in between, right?
There's I would say most coffees you can taste chocolate if you're looking for it. So I don't like to put chocolate as a tasting note sometimes. Yeah. Because it's
it's almost like it tastes like coffee. Yeah,
yes.
Sure. No, I get that. Yeah.
And I tasted. Originally, I got fermented strawberry, dark, intense chocolate. Oh my gosh, I just went back on my word. Dark, intense, like high cacao percentage,
Which I do kind of get.
And tropical fruit.
And tropical fruit.
So,
sure. Which I think it's for sure not the most, let's say, defined coffee. Roasted.
That would be March 11th.
March 11th. Okay, so about a month.
Yeah.
Which means perfect, pretty much, right? Good enough.
I don't know how you're gonna feel when you ask me what the roast date is on this coffee.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, what's the roast date on this coffee?
So it should be on the bottom.
Roast date 1-3.
Yes, it's
So
been in my
2 months then. Why is
it
it
went
January
into
or March? Because I'm confused.
January.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I'm European, so I don't
Yes.
get this. So 3rd of January. Okay. So
It went in my freezer a week after that, and it came out of my freezer yesterday.
Okay. Cool.
So
And
if
it
you
went
believe
in
in
like,
the
like
freezer,
this or packaged
in
or?
a plastic bag.
In a plastic
I put the bags that I have extra that I'm not going to drink right now.
Yeah.
I put them into a sealed Ziploc plastic bag.
Mhm.
Sometimes together with other ones if I have a lot.
Yeah.
And then I took it out yesterday. And so really, if you believe in the freezer, then it was roasted 8 days ago.
Do I believe in the freezer?
Probably
I don't
not.
know.
I believe in the
think
freezer.
The thing is, I'm gonna just say that potentially homebrewers are converting me from not believing in it to believing in it a little bit more.
This will be the one
Maybe.
to sell you with you.
This will be the one.
This will be
The
the
thing is,
one.
we don't do it at April, but it's because
Well, right, yeah.
the argument there, and it's not like we're not trying. We're trying most things I say we don't do. We're kind of continuously trying, right? But
Yeah.
the thing is, most people use, if you're like in a professional coffee bar, most people use the freezer because you want to have this really expensive kind of reserve menu, right? So the super high end stuff. That's at least what we see in like Europe.
That shop in Copenhagen does put stuff in the freezer.
In Copenhagen?
Yes. They have a lot of roasters. Yeah, it's downtown. City center.
Downtown city center in Copenhagen.
Vidahus?
Ah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah.
I believe you told me to go
been
there.
for a long time.
I believe you told me to go there.
Yeah.
The coffee I had there was incredible.
They're still around.
Yeah,
Still
okay.
around.
They
haven't
had some incredible roasters there. And he said something, the guy working said something about, I just took it out of the freezer this morning, and I think I was like, oh, okay. I don't think I was quite at the freezer method yet. This was pre-pandemic times.
Oh, sure.
Now I believe that.
Yeah.
It probably is a good idea.
I mean, my only reservation is that based on our testing, properly roasted non-frozen coffee versus the same coffee frozen at the same time, or like in the lifespan of that frozen coffee, I find that the fresh coffee is tasting better.
Oh, yes.
That's like
I would agree with
my
that.
argument. And then from, let's say, a reserve menu perspective, I wouldn't be comfortable selling a very expensive coffee if it's not served at the peak.
100% agree.
Yeah, that's my argument, right? But then obviously, we meet a lot of homebrewers in these videos that like, I just have too much coffee.
Yep.
And I need to store it and I don't want to waste it. And yes, it's better than not keeping it in the freezer if you tend to have it there for 6 months to a year.
Yes.
100%.
I 100% agree with everything you said. If I was operating a cafe, I would probably not put anything in the freezer.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah, you gotta.
Maybe not.
You don't want to.
So now we're left. So coffee, water, grinder. I see 19 on the grinder.
Yes. So I brewed this coffee for the first time this morning.
Yeah.
I felt like the grind size was perfect.
Yeah.
And
what was that like a mastermind calculation based on a lot of variables, or was that the grind size you would always use for this?
So I mentioned that I've brewed New and Fernandez's coffee a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Typically, it's something like a Paranima or a Pacomara. It's decent elevation from what I remember. Yeah, 1,800 meters. So for Honduras,
That's
not bad.
high for sure.
Yeah. Still, I find the coffees to be pretty low density. And I am sometimes
It
grinding.
looks low density. Actually,
Yeah.
just by looking at the beans.
And this is a Geisha too.
Yeah.
I will grind those other ones around 16, 17. But since this is not Pacomara or something that's going to be super low density, I assumed I needed to go coarser. And so I felt like my grind was perfect.
Yep.
But my brew ratio was a little long. So I brewed it this morning at 16:1. So I think I'm going to pull it back a little bit, like 15.5:1.
Okay. So how much coffee do we have there now?
This is 16.3
16.3
grams.
grams.
That is a weird.
That is a
it's
thing.
a weird
Yeah, that's
thing
like
I have.
So one rule at the April coffee stores is like point something never.
Oh really?
Unless you can justify that in like a perfect smart way, which
What
is
if
very hard to
What if
do.
I told you that I had a vision that 16.3 was a good number to brew coffee with?
You had a
How are you
vision,
gonna feel about
as in you had a dream? or
I
you-
saw the numbers in my head when I was brewing coffee one time,
Uh-huh.
and I just liked it. And 16 to 1 is a ratio that I start with a lot.
Yeah,
So
sure.
Wash Columbia,
Yeah.
I'll go 16 to 1.
Yeah.
If you use 16.3 grams of coffee, that's exactly 260 grams of water,
Mhm.
which is a really good amount of coffee.
Sure.
So that's why I do it.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
very weird.
Yeah.
It's what I do.
No. I had so the other day we had a home brewing video as well, and they were like, they were just, but this is the amount of coffee in the bag, and then I'm gonna do average brew size, and then I'm just gonna divide it with the amount of cups I want to do, and I don't want to waste any coffee.
That is much smarter than what I do.
That's also a way.
That's a really good way to do it.
Doesn't sound
I like
as
it.
cool as having like a vision, but that's
I wish
also
I was
a good way.
joking. It might maybe not a vision, but
Nothing wrong
seeing
with having a
numbers.
vision.
My normal job is engineering,
Yeah.
so I have a math
numbers
mind kind
guy.
of. So I
Sure.
do see numbers sometimes.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into that.
Fair point.
So V60 is complete opposite from the Triculate for me. It any drip method.
Sure.
V60 especially, you have to be super careful because it's
Okay.
really easy to mess up. A
Yep.
lot of people I think just give up on it completely because their brews are either too harsh. It's really easy to have your drop time too fast.
Yeah.
It brews very quickly.
Yeah.
I would say quicker than most other filter methods.
Oh, sure.
But you can brew like the crispest cup with the highest acidity, I believe, with the V60.
Probably true. When I kind of in the development phase of the April brewer, that was like a big challenge, right? And especially when the coffee cools down, because when it cools down, then you get sometimes a little bit of an off balance. If you're brewing, let's say, very light roasted coffees on a V60, which I would do then, right? So then a flatbed brewer and the kind of April brewer was developed around that more or less, right? So I totally get it. Actually, I haven't tried a V60 brew in, I don't remember.
Really?
No.
Oh.
So this is like Tricolate. Don't remember either. YouTube does.
Or
V60.
unmemorable.
No, like memorable in a bad.
Yeah.
No, but V60, obviously you can brew really good coffee with it. There's no doubt about that. And this is a fancy kind of cupper version, no?
Yes, I have had this since at least 2015.
Yep. Cool.
I just did some Kafiza about a month ago for the first time in a couple of years,
Curious of it,
and
yeah.
it is a different color now.
Sure. Sure. Makes sense.
So V60, there's a lot of variables. So with
Brewing
my
temperature?
bloom, 92 to 93.
And was that the same on the Tricolate, which we forgot to talk about?
Triculate, I usually do 90, 91 because it's a longer brew time,
Okay.
more contact time.
Okay. So on a lower average temperature.
Yeah, and there's going to be less natural acidity from the Triculate anyway.
Yep. Sure.
And
Less agitation makes sense. More agitation, more acidity.
yes, less acidity. I find that in a lot of flat bottom brewers. So like Triculate, AeroPress is similar just because they're both a cylinder, you know.
Mhm.
And with V60, I use 92 to 93. A lot of people in the United States do not like that.
I think it's too low.
Way too low.
Which I can taste. I'm sorry, because we talked a little bit about drinking coffee in Chicago in coffee shops, and I'm pretty sure that they brew coffee with very, very high water.
98, 99.
Always, and you can taste it. You have this kind of chalky, kind of way
I don't
too
get it.
structured sensation.
I don't understand
No.
it.
Agreed.
I've tried it many times just because people are constantly, coffee professionals that have worked in coffee longer than me are like, what do you, like, it should be 97.
Sure.
And I'm just like, okay.
But it
I think
more. Yeah.
I think it's a very light roasted coffee thing is to brew with lower temperature.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the science behind it.
I think
It has to do with flavor
The thing
molecules.
is, the darker the roast that I brew, the lower the brewing temperature.
that would make sense in my head.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have no idea what the whole 97,
Maybe
98
you guys
thing comes from.
I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about this.
So with blooming on the V60, this is the only like non-scientific part of it I find. I never bloom the same amount of water, and I never bloom for the same amount of time. So I'm done now. 39 grams of water, and I started with 16.
And what
0.3 grams of
what
coffee.
made you feel that you were done then? Like, what's your cue?
the moment I feel like I've wet every ground,
Okay, so like
I'm
a
done.
visual-
I'm not gonna ever go 3
Yeah.
times the amount of the grinds. A lot of people in the U.S. do 3 times, which I think is a lot.
We do even more.
Really?
Yeah, because we do 100 gram pour.
100 gram bloom?
Oh,
Well, don't you do 100
yes.
grams and then go to 200 grams and that's the whole brew?
Pretty much.
I don't count that as a bloom then.
Pretty much also. And I mean, we can see this on this coffee. Obviously, this coffee is a very well roasted coffee, right? Even if it's been in the fridge. So that means that we don't have any actual like visual representation of a bloom, right? There's nothing swelling up. So one can, it's all about that uniform saturation. That's the main thing.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think you need to go, to a certain volume every time. And especially for the bloom time, that's another thing that I feel like is much more like you go by feel. It's not by science. It's not like I bloom 40 seconds every single time.
Sure.
Is the coffee done blooming? And you can tell, sometimes you can hear it stop to, tiny bubbles bursting. Sometimes it just completely dries out. And if it dries out, you're almost too late.
Sure.
So then the next time you brew, you remember maybe take 5 seconds off.
Yeah.
So I'm doing about 70 gram pulses here. I'm going to do 3 pulses, not counting the bloom. So bloom and then 3 pours.
Okay. So roughly, first pour was up to 110-ish, and then we're like 194 or 5-ish, 200, depending on how detailed we are counting. And then one final pour.
Yes. Yeah. And we're going to hit... we want to go between 250 and 255 to hit that 15.5 ratio I was talking about. So I get 254. Do you typically count your final brew weight as what you pour to or what it goes down to by the end? Because you lose about 1.5 grams.
You do lose about 1 gram. I mean, officially in competition, it would be what is the number on the scale when you're done pouring.
Oh, that is okay.
Yeah, so that would be like this is like the official, both with time and everything. That's done pretty much.
Okay.
And then as a competitor, you can like turn off the scale a bit cheeky, just like because it is going to change a little bit, right? We know that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say basically the final pour. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I think makes sense, right?
This coffee has gotten much more smooth since we've let it rest. I think I do taste a little bit more of that vanilla now. Maybe some pomegranate. Still no pineapple.
No. But I think that's, kind of back a little bit to that conversation. Flavor, like if you want to transfer flavors to something, unless it's like a pure infusion, which is done usually with like organic gas and pressurized tanks. Basically, like if you've seen the SCA aroma vial things, the little like liquid, when you want to kind of aroma kit test, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
That's basically the kind of liquid people would use to put in pressurized tanks, right? Like simplified. You make that into a gas form, but you have the same amount of intensity of flavors, and then you kind of, for lack of a better term,
it's very
that
interesting.
in the coffee, right? So that's how you transfer, like, when you say it's a co-ferment, and it's like it tastes like crazy like strawberries because I put strawberries in there. It doesn't taste like that because you put strawberries in there, because transferring flavors is all about acidities and sugars, right? It's not a flavor, right? Flavors is basically a constellation of acidities, more or less, right?
Yeah, you're not creating you're not steeping it or making tea with it.
No, exactly. So it's a different vibe, right? But interesting conversation, right?
Yes.
So okay, what do we grape candy?
So this was brew time was 3 minutes and 10 seconds. After about a 45-second bloom.
Yeah, you were done. Last pour was 220-ish.
Yes. Yeah. So about 45-50 second drawdown. Did you want to finish this, or you want to get rid of it?
Get rid of it. We can talk about it.
Get
Just
rid of
because
that.
I had a lot of
Get rid of that.
Not
Tricolate.
because we don't exactly.
We do not respect the.
We actually
Tricolate.
had a long conversation with the creator of the Triculate as well. He wasn't very happy. Yeah.
I assume they will be at the expo. Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will be at the expo. Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Cool though. So this says grape candy.
Oh, we actually switched cups.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Maracuya? What's maracuya? That's something I never seen.
That is a great question.
You don't know what
I don't
it
know
is?
what that is.
Do you want to Google it?
Yes.
Let's Google it.
Grape
Maracuya.
candy,
Who knows?
peach, maracuya.
Peach, I know what that is.
Yes.
That's fluorescent rhubarb now.
Oh, it's like a passion fruit.
Why don't you just say passion fruit?
I'm gonna see him later this week. I'm gonna say, why did you say maracuja?
Because it sounds cool.
I'm coming
Sounds-
for you. Why is it maracuja and not passion fruit?
It, you know,
Yeah, maybe it's. I mean, passion fruits are normally purple. This looks yellow.
Okay, so like a different style of passion fruit.
Yeah.
Valid.
We're not gonna say anything until we find out the truth.
No, and I mean, yeah, sure. It's like, why not? You know, it's like, you know, you write stone fruit or you write peach, you write like citrus or you write specific citrus.
Exactly.
So I mean, I get it. That's cool. A bit confusing, but still pretty cool. What do we think?
Smells nice.
So I get the grape candy vibe on the aroma, for sure.
Yeah, like the sugary candy part, not just grape. An important thing to remember about this one, this is a Geisha, but it's not. This is not a $150 bag.
Okay.
This
sure.
is there's been a strong trend, I think, of Geishas that are kind of lower price point in the last few years,
sure.
which I think is cool. It kind of takes some of the delicacies away from it, maybe.
Yeah.
But they're more affordable. It's not going to be the best coffee you've ever had, but it's always going to be. It's kind of like a signifier of
It'd
something.
be like,
nice.
okay, yeah. It's actually
So it's not an expensive Geisha. That's what I'm trying to say.
no, but a valid like point to discuss also, and it's an interesting year this year because it marks actually the 20th anniversary of when the Esmeralda farm in Panama basically planted or harvested like the first
Wow.
geisha ever. I'm not sure if it's planted or harvested. Sorry for that, but anyway, so 20th anniversary of them basically having the geisha they got so famous for, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's something we should consider in terms of geisha is that geisha today is a lot of things.
Yes.
Right. Like genetically, you can see it just looking visually on the coffees when you buy like a bag of geisha coffee. You know, if you benchmark with the very top high-end Panamanian geishas versus some Costa Rican or you know Honduras or whatever it can be, visually they'll look very different. Genetically, they're actually quite different as well, even if they then to some degree originate from like the first.
The
geisha
cat's
in
meowing. I'm
essence.
sorry.
Which is fair.
Yes, I completely agree though.
Yeah, I think it's important to understand that it's geisha. There was a time where you could go, okay, I'm buying a geisha. By default, that would be really delicious and taste like citrus and florals.
Yeah.
But that time is kind of past.
Yeah, not anymore.
Geisha can be a lot more.
I don't think
or
that
less.
I wouldn't say all Geisha profiles are going to be floral anymore.
Sure.
Or like you would normally taste like a bucket of jasmine right in your face.
Mhm.
But I don't think that's really a thing anymore. I think you're tasting more complicated flavors now because there's not a whole lot of countries that are not doing geisha anymore.
Yeah.
Or still.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I've never had a Brazilian geisha, but maybe that's the only one.
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Okay, they
You
exist.
can, yeah, no, for sure. I think in most places they do, right? And now you have, you know, newer varieties like ingenuities and things like that, which people are also just planting everywhere, right? You know,
Yeah.
whatever sells, kind of, right? But I mean, make sure you get the good ones, right? I think the jasmine, citrusy, that's why we tend to buy from Esmeralda Center State because they still have that. Or like the best geisha I've had this season is from a farm in Guatemala called Socorro.
Oh,
Just washed high altitude, a farmer we've been working with for a long time. Won the Cup of Excellence last year as well.
everything I've had from El Socorro has always been excellent. I think I've had a
This is
Geisha
very
from
good.
there.
This is very good.
You like this one?
I mean, no, Socorro. This is
Oh,
fine
yeah.
also, right? But it's not quite on par with...
What do you say compared to the Triculate? Very different coffees. They're both naturals.
I think that the combination of this and the Tricolate was a better combination than this and the V60.
Mm.
So not necessarily saying that either brew method is better or worse, or either coffee is better or worse. It's more, I look at coffee brewing as a system and how kind of compatible the different variables are, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, let's say a grinder, right? That grinder can be the best grinder in the world if you put it in the right system.
Yes.
Where all the other variables fit into that. It can also be the worst grinder in the world if your system isn't compatible, right? Which is why I always compete. Like I'm bringing like a fellow odd first generation.
Oh, the one that doesn't go fine enough.
to the world championship. And in Sweden, I did the second generation.
Okay.
And I always compete with like home grinders. And here in Chicago, I basically got both of them. Fellow was like kind enough to send me some because of electrical plugs, which you know all about. I can't bring stuff from
You gotta
Europe.
know your
to
power
compare, right?
supplies.
No, exactly, right? The amount of competitors, when I was in the World Championship in Boston, the amount of competitors that brought their own water kettles from Europe and plugged that in, and were like standing on stage and they were like, why isn't my temperature going up? Because it just takes way, way longer, right? That happens, right? So anyway, I was basically just trying my competition coffee on both grinders, and then it's in the system I'm brewing now, the first one is actually performing much better than the
That is
later
really
version, right?
interesting.
Yeah.
Have you found that the first one works better for? Are you using an April brewer?
Yeah.
Have you found that the first generation works better generally with the April brewer?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. No. And again, when I competed in Sweden for the national, I used the second generation because that's what I have at home, pretty much, right? Like original burst, all of it, right? It's just that now is kind of interesting where I was like waiting for the new generation to arrive here at a local coffee shop to kind of pick it up, and I didn't really want to wait. And they had the old generation, so I bought the old generation also. But then I did a bunch of tests. Now it's like, oh wow, it just tastes much, much better.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm kind of excited about that. Anyway, sidetracked.
A lot of side topics today.
Yes.
Which is good.
Which is good. I mean, I think coffee is, that's kind of what coffee's all about, right? And I think people lose some of the kind of magic in it by not exploring those, get a little bit stuck.
Yes.
in
Or
their
thinking
ways,
you
kind of.
know the way to do everything.
Sure.
Because there's no single path to creating a good coffee. No way.
That is true. I quite enjoy this though, because I think it tastes like a geisha to some degree. Like it has this, like there is some florality in there, which I like.
Little minerality.
A little bit old green coffee, which is
could
just
be.
true. It's
Could
about
be.
a-
This roaster buys a lot of green coffee. Their offer list has sometimes 20 coffees on it.
Yeah, so not like old as in like unjustifiably why are you selling this? More old as in most likely this is from the previous crop and this farm would have just been basically finishing harvest for this year.
Yeah.
So it would be too fresh for them to
Could
have
be.
it now. But then probably it is from 1 year before, right? Which like tastes fine, but I think if we were here last summer, try the same coffee, then this would just taste a few points.
And it was in the freezer for 3 months.
It was also in the freezer. Which
So I did
maybe
not
ruined the
convince.
coffee.
I did not convince you today.
No. Not freezer wise. Not freezer wise. Which is okay, right?
Yes.
But and I'm also one of those where I get that you want to fill your freezer with coffee, but it's also
You shouldn't. You shouldn't want
I don't
to.
know.
You shouldn't want to fill your freezer with coffee, I don't think.
yeah.
You should want to have just a couple bags at home that you're gonna get through.
Yeah.
Like, I would not freeze a coffee unless I had like over 4 bags that were full.
Yeah.
Because I can probably get through those within the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But anything over that,
How much coffee do you drink in a day?
on an average work day, I usually make an espresso in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's the La Pavoni, which hopefully we get to play with a
So
little bit.
I think we're gonna be, since we already had a cat kind of tilt, like this video is a little bit unusual to begin with. So we're gonna segue this into this because you said you had figured out the Pavoni,
I believe I have.
which is a bit of a statement. And if you haven't seen that before on this channel, we have a Pavoni video with Henrik in Copenhagen, which is kind of a Pavoni nerd.
I've seen the video.
You've seen it?
Yeah, and I have a question for you.
Okay.
So you go, maybe we can go, well, you push up to allow water to flow over the puck.
Yeah.
And you start pulling down, and that's when you get your pressure,
Sure.
8, 9, 10 bars, whatever you're going at. You go back up after you started pushing pressure
Yeah.
in the video.
Yeah.
Why do you do that?
Well, it wasn't me doing that. It was. Oh, do you mean our video or the video
Yeah.
with Henrik?
Oh, I meant your
Because we
video.
had two. Because we have one
Oh,
video where
okay.
I borrow Henrik's machine. This is like way before we started this homebrewing thing. And then we have one video with Henrik in his apartment doing like his thing, right?
I haven't seen that one. Okay.
My answer to that is not a good one. It's just the fact that that's what Henrik told me to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's like how I've
I'll
been
have to.
schooled.
I have to
into
talk to
Pavoni.
Henrik.
You have
'Cause maybe
we
it's-
can arrange that.
Maybe it's
He
Smart.
also has like modified every single part of the Pavoni.
Okay.
Not sure if you have done that.
No, I don't have.
I'm not sure you have.
I don't have the pressure gauge.
Yeah.
It's why fantify something that's so manual in such a simple machine. It's a single boiler. It's all pressure based.
Yeah.
Your pressure gauge is gonna be whatever your pressure is. You know, there's not really a way to control it.
Sure. So we're back. This is the same video, and hopefully we've edited a very smooth transition into this, which I'm not so sure, but that's our fault. It's not Joe that's editing's fault. It's my fault if anything. So we mentioned like morning coffee is espresso. Yeah. You mentioned that you mastered the Pavoni.
I believe that I have mastered the Pavoni. Yeah.
So I want to taste that.
Yeah,
pretty much. So let's just kind of run with it and brew.
So one thing, the beans in here are a little older. Okay. So there's not gonna be a lot of crema.
Okay. I don't. Crema tastes like crap anyway, so I'm fine with that.
Hang on. No. I don't like crema. I wait until the crema dissolves. Yeah. I stir it I really stir it. I don't drink. I don't pull the shot directly into the cup and drink the crema. Okay. But crema is akin to latte art. In that if you get a shot and there's maybe you see a dark spot on it or something on the shot, you know that it was well pulled. Similar to like if you get a cappuccino with latte art, it's like this was made with skill. Okay. So that's my fight for the crema. Yeah. I agree with you. It doesn't taste good, old school, but you should stir it. You should stir it away. Yeah. Sure. You don't want to drink a mouthful of crema. Bad. But it's a signifier of maybe they did it right.
Okay. I mean, I like fair point. If you go to a coffee shop and you get something that definitely doesn't have a crema on it, I would be a little bit worried initially, right?
Yes.
A little bit
like a light brown, foamy,
have
like
you
a very.
April?
No, I haven't.
So at April we brew espresso a bit differently, but I say let's go for it. We'll taste it, and then
you're gonna love this one.
If I feel we need to continue this.
I believe you guys pre-grind your
pre-grind all of it. Makes a massive difference. So pre-grinding.
Fourth wave.
If you want to elevate your coffee, pre-grind. Simplest way to do it, for sure. 100%.
I agree. Simplest, yeah.
Yeah, super simple.
So I don't know how many of you know about this, but my thing kind of in my coffee career before I stopped working in coffee shops every day. Yeah. My thing was kind of espresso. Like I did competitions and stuff, not for US Barista Championship or anything, but like it was a US based espresso competition, like a bracket. Okay. And I won 3 out of 4 of them. Nice. So I love espresso. Yeah. And I like to do a good job at it, which is why I love the La Pavoni at home. Yeah. Because if you use a normal semi-automatic espresso machine, if you mess up the grind, the espresso is just gonna be terrible. Comes out in like 15 seconds. It's gonna be very bad. Yeah, sure. This you can kind of regulate the pressure. Okay. Maybe give it less pressure, increase your contact time, and then you can at least drink it. Okay. So that's my argument for the La Pavoni. Yeah. So I use Baratza Sette 270. This is the one with the micro adjustments for the espresso, and I use this every morning, and then around 10 a.m. I make my 16.3 gram pour over. Okay, fair enough. And you don't dose your espresso like 0.3 either. 0.4. Not well. Okay, so
he does. He really does. Which is okay.
If you want to know how crazy I am, this is my book.
I think when anyone brings out their like brewing book, then sure, they're a little bit crazy.
So my dose, output, grind setting, pre-infusion time, because you have to pre-infuse with the La Pavoni. Sure. You have it's unavoidable. You have to. Some people don't like pre-infusion. And then my final. Like you don't?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
Just say.
With really light roasted coffee, I don't think you should.
Sure.
So I'll say that.
Yeah.
So, when I dial it in, sometimes just changing the grind setting is not enough. Yeah. You need to sometimes increase your dose a little bit.
Sure.
So with espresso, it's even more tight as far as changes than filter. Yeah. So the 0.2, 0.3 up and down is unavoidable.
Okay, fair enough.
And I've always been about that. I got made fun of the shop I worked at in college, I always got made fun of for
Yeah.
like, all right, yeah, we're dosing it at 18.7 today, and they're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what's wrong with you? Why don't we just... This is also why a pre-grind, because
Yeah.
then there's no conversation during service about where we're dosing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't say I was right about
Are
it.
you going to try this now for
Yeah.
tomorrow morning? Like, are you going to pre-grind?
I guess I could.
You should.
I should.
You should.
Okay, so I have this set to, I think I actually need to go higher because this morning wasn't quite enough coffee, so I'm going to go
It's
to...
the same coffee as this morning?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think, I believe I have this coffee dialed in.
That's a loud grinder.
Very loud, very fast.
Very loud, very fast. So
3.9
opposite
seconds.
of this.
Yes.
So slow, still very loud, but very fast, very loud.
Yeah, and I was a little low, so you have the ability to...
Have you ever
have
tried
different-
espresso on the Wilfa?
I have. It was not fine enough.
No,
I went all the way to 1. Yeah,
doesn't work.
no.
Fair enough.
I read somewhere that you could, and I just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go... That's a little high, actually,
little high.
but...
What's the basket size you have?
It is... I believe it's a 15-gram basket.
Yeah.
It doesn't say on there. For La Pavoni, they don't
Yeah,
do
it's
stuff
whatever
like that.
standard
Yeah.
Pavoni
It's
basket.
a double shot.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, fair enough.
And I don't use distribution tools.
Cool. I don't either.
The pat on the side,
Works every time.
it's all you need to settle it.
Tapping. Cool.
And this is a smaller tamper size, so
Yeah.
if you have one of these machines, you can't go full standard tamper size. You need to get a little bit more exact with it.
Yeah.
So I always do a full purge before, just to make sure that the water at the top here is actually super hot.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit of a game here. So you'll see on the side there's a green button that says the boiler is actually running.
Yeah.
If the boiler is actually running, that's when you're getting your highest pressure.
Okay.
So I always start the shot when the light is on.
Sure.
So it's kind of a chase.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And then I have the timer on my Acaia scale here that I'm using. So I have to wait until the light comes on. It usually, if you purge it, it usually comes on pretty quickly. There you go. So now it's time.
I mean, you have to be really quick, otherwise it's going to disappear, or...
It's going to disappear while you're up anyway,
Oh, sure.
but you just want to start it while it's
And
active.
now
So
you wait
7 seconds.
Okay. So that was the 7-second pre-infusion.
Yes.
And then we're doing the pressure thing.
Yeah. So if you grind it right,
Yeah.
it should be really hard to pull.
Okay.
I think I read somewhere like if you're putting 20 pounds of pressure down, then
And then
you're about 9
You
bars.
just pulled it off. And that was at 30 seconds? Like, was that your kind of... When did you decide to just pull it off there?
So
Like
like I
how
said
far?
earlier, this is very much by feel.
Yeah.
So you have to know when the shot is done.
You have
and
to
it's
know,
kind of
and
by
you know by feeling it.
it is a feel.
Yeah.
The La Pavoni, this is not.
YouTube will hate you.
They will. I know.
I
I know they
basically tell
will.
them, if you don't have the right feeling for this, you can't do this.
They have
Huh?
YouTube is very science, like
Very much.
2 to 1
Yeah,
ratio,
sure.
25 to
Do
30
this.
seconds.
Yeah.
That's not a La Pavoni though.
No.
It is all about
Which
feel.
I agree with you though.
Okay.
For sure, and I think that's part of the charm with La Pavoni.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't have one myself, but when I've been playing with it, for sure, like, you should just kind of do it, right?
Okay. So it was 27 grams out. So as you can see, hardly no crema.
True.
I would say no crema.
I would say that too. Yeah.
And
What's the coffee?
it's a natural El Salvador.
Yep.
Lykke, you know, they're from Stockholm.
Wow, have they changed their packaging? When did they change?
They do some specialty
those?
stuff in cans.
Okay.
The farms that they own,
cans. For
I don't like
cans.
them.
Love Lykke though, they're cool. It's the guy that
Yes.
started, or one of the guys that started Johan and Nystrom, right?
I'm not sure.
No, it is.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
And this coffee was really nice. It's a little bit older. I used a different coffee in my subscription last month, but I just got this kind of as a add-on for myself.
Oh, okay.
So with the cans, their whole operation is kind of they operate and own farms. So they have a few farms throughout the world that they own.
Yep.
And the cans are neighboring farms who they really like what they're doing.
Okay.
And it's sometimes a special lot.
Yeah.
This was a Pacamara from El Salvador. It's called Altitude because it was, I think, 2,000 meters, which for El Salvador is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an older roast date, so the espresso is not the most in-your-face bright, but it's a little subdued. It's got good sweetness, I think.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a cafe level espresso. Maybe I need to get more sciencey and YouTube with it. Maybe I should.
I quite enjoy this though. Like I don't think this is like quite drinkable, and it tastes like the origin, which I think is the most important part, right? And it's interesting. I actually never tried any other coffees.
Oh, really?
I know the head roaster Benjamin. No, Benjamin is not even there anymore. I'm sorry. I don't know anything more about the brand name and the founder, but it's kind of cool to actually try it. So.
And this one too.
Sure.
They started a farm in Uganda, so this is their like Uganda year-round offering, I guess. But the cans I found to be pretty high quality.
Do you want to see if that's like,
want to try
is that representable of what you were going for? Chocolatey, a little red cherry vibe to it.
It's got some fruit in it.
Fairly clean.
It's not
Syrupy.
the best shot I've pulled of this coffee.
Sure.
It did come out a little fast.
Yeah.
So I did like a 7-second pre-infusion, and the final shot time was 31 seconds.
Yeah.
So I call that a 24-second shot because the pre-infusion doesn't count.
And then the volume on espresso was
27.
27.
Yeah, so it was a little under 2-to-1.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's old school.
It is.
Yeah.
That's how I got really big into espresso in like 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
And I would do as low as 1.5 to 1 sometimes.
Yeah.
And a little faster shot when you do that. Yeah. Now I think I would get, what is it called when you get with pitchforks?
I don't think the thing is, so I did this little thing in Sweden like when I competed in brewers, I also competed in barista, and then I changed coffee for the final. Very long story, we don't have to talk about it. But when I brewed the coffee I then chose to use, I actually went back to almost like a 1 to 2, or like a little bit below 1 to 2.
Okay.
And I was quite surprised over how tasty that was. Just because I spent like in April we're 1 to 3, 100% almost always.
Which is
like 1 to 3 ratio.
1, 2, 3?
Not 1 to 3. So like 20 to 60.
Oh,
yeah.
20 and 60. That is,
100%.
I would actually say,
Or like
you said that mine was
19 to
old
60,
school.
or like
I would say
18 to
that is
60.
old school.
Oh yeah, that's
but
like
now it's
before-
coming back.
Now it's coming
Right,
back.
yeah.
That might be it though.
Everything in the early 2000s, including fashion, is coming back. So espresso.
True. It
It's
was
here.
like the 90s, and now we're true though.
Everything is coming back.
Everything is coming back. That's true. Let's hope that infused coffees never come back. But that's it will.
Oh, flavor like.
Yeah, I mean, we had like
flavor.
let's say you're on an Istrom, then the founder of Lykke started a long time ago. One of their best sellers were like flavored coffee, right? But it was flavored coffee in the sense that you had ground coffee with like added spice in it.
So post roast.
Yeah.
Yes,
kind of, right?
that was
And
huge.
That's basically the same thing that people are doing today, right?
I agree.
Which is why I think it's so interesting, because when I started in the industry, it was like the big ones that did flavored coffee post roast. And specialty coffee was like, that's insane. You can't do that. What's wrong with you? And now specialty coffee are the ones flavoring coffee, right? So, I kind of wonder, where did everything go wrong in this
I don't
industry?
know.
But that's, again, other story, a different
The
lifetime.
yeah.
That's right. But it's interesting, right? And you're right in the sense that everything will eventually come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which I think it's also, there's room for it. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's to some degree interesting. But I think there's also, let's not forget about good coffee along the way. Kind of, right?
And with the La Pavoni, if you did like a 20 in 60 out kind of shot with it, it would be like so watery.
Oh,
So
sure.
I think with different
sure.
kind of machines also, sometimes you got to push this one a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
Just because you have to pre-infuse, there's not an option.
Yeah,
So
sure.
sometimes I'll do like a 6-second pre-infusion if if it was a coffee, I would never want to pre-infuse
Yeah.
on a commercial machine.
Yeah.
So if I'm using like a La Marzocco Linea, I would do nothing.
Okay.
Then I would do as short a pre-infusion as I can, enough to just get enough water out.
Yeah.
But there's a million things you can do with La Pavoni. I love it.
Yeah.
I use it almost every day.
Super cool. Awesome. I think that's a great place to wrap up as well. Interesting video, a little bit different than what we did before, which I appreciate. 3 different brew methods pretty much in one video, so you guys have a lot to comment about and share about and think about and whatever. We're always very happy to hear what you guys think. Thank you for having us. Super fun. Also nice to finally
Welcome
meet
to
each other.
Chicago.
We've been emailing for like a long time, so it's really cool to actually meet each other. Thank you guys for watching as always. Comment, subscribe, sign up on Patreon, do whatever you want to do. We always appreciate it. And yeah, just thank you and have a good day.
We want to give a special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. It's because of you that we are able to continue to make these videos. And we want you all to feel free to always come with suggestions and ideas on the content that you want to see, because we are doing this for you and because of you. Thank you from all of us here at April.